Hello, this is the Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. And I want to mention feedback is greatly important. So you have comments, questions, concerns, or even show ideas, be greatly appreciated. You can reach me through email, Substack, X, and of course fill up the comments in YouTube. And on Sunday, I will post my third episode of Messages in a Bottle. And I think it'd be Messages in a Bottle more appropriate because, I'm not saying just one thing. I'm saying, kind of play on words there. So I will post that on Sunday for all you supporters out there that support content for all of y'all. Greatly appreciate it. And you enjoy my content and you would like to be a supporter, click on that link and it's $5 a month. All right, so this episode is about Mexico. I appreciate all of you listeners out there from Mexico, but to keep up with the holiday theme of, well, it's not really a holiday, let me rephrase that. To keep up with the theme of Halloween, I'm going to focus in on the foods that are eaten to celebrate the Day of the Dead. All right, so let's get into this and learn a little more about this culture. Here we go. All right, so before I get into the facts and details about food from the Day of the Dead, celebrating that, I'm going to give thoughts. So, I think food, along with the preparation of it and the presentation of it, says a lot about the aspects of what people find. As I said in a previous episode about on Friday about focusing in on foods, it says even more so about what people value in culture. And so I'm going to say this early before I get into the aspect of, so on next Friday, I'm going to cover my listener out there, the original listener out there that was there with me when I was on Anchor, from Israel and specifically Tel Aviv. And I think that I'm remembering that's Tel Aviv because Tel Aviv, it gives more of an insight of Israel other than the religious, war-torn aspects of the country. It gives more of a different perspective instead of just highly focusing in on that. And so my whole point of going back and saying about food and setting it up and then talking about food, on Fridays is that it breaks a lot of barriers down more than a lot of other things. For instance, music, even literature, art, things like that. It gets down to the basic, fundamental heart of the matter that I think, from my point of view, that food is all about nourishment, and on top of that, it's all about enjoyment too, and then sharing. It's really a humble thing when you break it down to the aspects of the nature of food. And of course, there's you get into other aspects that are negative. Of course, everything has a negative aspect about it, but, you'll drive yourself crazy if you focus in on those things. But at the heart of the matter, food is a driving force for bringing people together in more of a comforting way, more of a acceptable way, to where it's not so polarized, to where people agree for the most part about what they find interesting about food, or what they like, what they don't like. All right, here we go. Let's get into the aspects of food that is eaten on the Day of the Dead. And of course, this source will be provided for you in this episode. So it's entitled, and this is by Rosetta Stone, which is a really good company as far as learning languages. And it's also interesting, going back to Rosetta Stone, the actual stone, it has in it many different languages. So hence the Rosetta Stone. All right, it's entitled 10 Traditional Day of the Dead Foods for an Unforgettable Feast. So this was updated. It was originally published March 8th of 2024 of this year. But it was updated May 9th of 2024. All right, it says, one of the most exquisite parts of Day of the Dead in Mexico is the food. Families usher the spirits of their loved ones back to the land of the living on November 1st and 2nd by building ofrendas. And then, again, how that links into when I was on Wednesday addressing the aspect of the Celtic culture and getting that connection back, and how the living and the spirit world, is linked to reconnecting with that, and how those little things sprinkled around in different cultures, that's another aspect to unite people, and to say, specifically with mythology, to say that, ideas as far as being the thought process about how to process death and wanting to reconnect is similar. And then people can find more of a connection to that when they get back to the roots about things like this, as far as folklore, myths, and things of that nature. All right, so lined with their favorite foods. Some are sweet, like dulces típicos, original sweets, while others, like mole, lean more savory. Some meals are typically prepared in large quantities, so there's more than enough of each dish to go around. If you can't make it to Mexico to join the festivities, you can host your own Dia de los Muertos celebration, of course, which means the Day of the Dead celebration this year. So choose your favorites on the list below, or go all out with a full menu. There's plenty of varieties to choose from, and if you're new to the Mexican cuisine, a whole new world of flavor to discover. So when it comes to holidays in Mexico, there's so much to explore. Learning Spanish can help you connect more fully with the people behind these incredible traditions and festivities. And that's exceptionally true. When you go to other countries, and then focusing that back to America, with when other people from other countries, come and visit us and visit this culture, that's a huge part of it, learning the language and breaking down that language barrier. So when you get into the heart of that, and I think that's very profound to say, it makes it more of a relatable experience, because and it makes it more meaningful, because you're not, as far as from a psychological point of view and enjoyment. So what am I saying about that? So you don't feel nervous, you feel more confident because you understand the language. And now needless to say, that's a hard defeat to take, to learn so many different languages, but to at least attempt to know the basics of how to get around. It's a good thing. It puts that extra level of ease and that extra level of understanding when you go and travel to these other countries. And then again, with other countries coming to America, it obliterates the aspect of feeling like you're pretty much a man of his own island, where you feel isolated. All right. So when it comes, so like I was saying about the holidays, there's much to explore. So Rosetta Stone is, that's a nice tool to pick up. And that's very true. Now, I purposely chose this article to reinforce the aspect and the idea to understand that it's a good thing, specifically when you're traveling, or specifically when you want to, broaden your horizons about other cultures. Language is a key factor to that. And that also is another gateway to get people, and another channel, more along the lines of, instead of saying gateway, more another channel to get people connected instead of divisive. And, I would suggest, too, that if y'all who are listening to me, if you're interested in learning another language, Rosetta Stone is pretty neat. So, again, I'm not getting paid from Rosetta Stone to promote them. I just think it's a pay it forward kind of mentality about things. So, the essential role of Mexican cuisine. Unlike most Mexican food served in the United States, traditional Mexican cuisine is part of the UNESCO's representation list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. So, it's muy significant, which means that's very significant. That's because food practices are not just about the palate in Mexico. They are also linked to the earth, growing practices, social interactions, and rituals. Though the special dishes and drinks prepared for Day of the Dead are abundant, they are going to focus on the top 10 and provide details about their variations. Okay, number 1 is mole. Mole is a rich and satisfying sauce that originated in pre-Hispanic culture. So cooks would blend chili peppers, pumpkin seeds, and tomatoes together, probably in a natural dish with this mixture called mole, and often served over cooked meat. And it's interesting too with sauces. It gives a different edge as far as the aspects of how meat tastes. And something as simple as, well, it's not really simple, but just playing with the idea of chocolate and meats, that sweet and savory balance, and people do that, and it's just interesting. It's another example on top of how mole can shape the aspect of meat and how it's traditionally eaten. Well, depend on your region, but that's nice. After the arrival, the Spanish mole, as we know it today, was invented during the colonial, there we go, period. Probably in Puebla, and for instance, by introducing new ingredients to the recipe, such as tomatoes, vegetables, and fresh or dried fruits. So a wide range of spices like cumin or cinnamon are also incorporated into this delicacy. Moles are usually served over a piece of chicken, turkey, or pork, and has the accompanying accompanying the taste with rice and perhaps beans or a salad. And tortillas to add on to this to soak up every drop of this delectable dish. All right, so there's other aspects of mole. So they say mole verde, and they say mole Colorado, and they have mole chilo. Help me out there, y'all that listen to me from Mexico. Feel free to email me, fill up comments on YouTube. Be greatly appreciated. So mole negro, which means black mole, is due to its appearance from the use of dark chocolate and raisins. And, this gets into the aspect of more of some mole that I know about. So, when I was mentioning about that savory, the sweet as far as using chocolate, and containing peanuts, almonds, plus chilies mole, and it's one of the most popular and beloved moles. So mole poblano, another popular mole, is invented in Puebla. Poblano refers to both people and items from Puebla. So made with 3 types of chilies, this mole has a dark red color that is nearly brown because of the chocolate and dark colored spices. So, mole amarillo, despite its name, which means yellow, this mole varies in colors from yellowish to reddish and every color in between. So it's thickened with cornmeal with that one. And this is typically with quesadilla dishes. Mole verde, another mole, which means green. This mole is one of the few moles prepared with fresh chili peppers. And mole colorado means red colored, and this mole is deep in tone. It's familiar, with the aspect of the red color. So this recipe is used with red and green tomatoes plus raisins. All right, so I'm gonna get on to pan de muerto. So typically when I hear about pan and what I understand, about learning about Spanish and the language, pan is typically associated with something sweet. So here we go. So directly translated as bread of the dead, pan de muerto, it comes into a multitude of shapes and sizes. While most pan de muerto is made with an egg-based dough, its color and flavors vary widely, though a delicate touch of anise or orange are often presented. No Day of the Dead altar is complete without pan de muerto. By many living beings living beings love to eat it too, especially with hot chocolate or an atole, which they'll talk about soon. And they go on to say, pan de muerto at the outdoor food markets and the bakeries are represented for a couple of weeks prior to November 1st and 2nd. And they go on to give examples of some of the pan de muerto. So the traditional aspect of it is round in shape. This bread is often sprinkled with white or red sugar, and it is huesos bones made of dough placed atop in the form of a cross. And then fantasmas, it means ghosts. In some regions, this bread is made into a human form with legs and arms and sprinkled with sesame seeds. And it's muy de la temporado. It's very seasonal. Is another phrase. And then donuts are also dices dispensadas, I believe the pronunciation of that, says the name of this bread means unkempt. But like all other pan de muerto, it carefully is made. This particular type form of a dough or a pretzel is very popular in Mexico City. And so dulces típicos. Most most Day of the Dead altars feature dulces típicos, which despite the apparent aspect of it, it actually means the original sweets. Most which starts with a base of natural ingredients like fruit or whole grain. While many families make these at home, it is possible to buy them ready-made at open-air markets or specialty shops. So here are some different variations or different aspects of dulce típicos. Dulce de calabaza, pumpkin sweets. Also, this is a start with the original winter squash. That's nice. And it says it's also slightly smoky with flavor. And they also add cloves in it and cinnamon sticks, just to name some of the aspects about it. So, dulce de camito, canned sweet potato, is prepared much like pumpkin sweet recipe and can be eaten as sweet in other ways all year round. So, the chocolate skulls. So these candies tend to be made of milk chocolate and are more like a traditional candy. All right, so pozole, I believe the pronunciation of that. So it looks quite good. So you've probably gotten a sense of the dishes in Mexico tend to have a lot of regional variations. And pozole is no exception in rich filling soup. And y'all from Mexico, help me out with this. It would be greatly appreciated about the pronunciation of this. So always contain either pork or chicken, but there are vegetarian varieties of it. So we have red or white pozole and it's eaten in the northern place, in the northern aspect of Mexico. So what makes it really marvelous are the toppings. It is accompanied by tostadas and freshly sliced vegetables like radishes, avocado, and lettuce. And it's topped off with some oregano and dried chili powder. Muy rico, which means very tasty. Tamales. So, like a lot of other authentic Mexican foods, there are innumerable types of tamales, a food originating pre-Hispanic culture as one of the gastronomic treasures of Mexico. Tamales are rich with significance, and since corn was and continues to be the most basic staples of the culture for many, tamales symbolizes a connection between the earth and the living and the dead. So, singular of tamales is tamala in Spanish. And tamala making start with a corn husk of banana leaf, which is then filled with the corn mixture and salsa. So here are some variations of tamales. Tamales de mole. It's a specialty and of this, and it has it's enveloped in bananas, leaves, and chicken and mole inside. So we have tamales de rajas. Rajas are thin slices of chili peppers These tamales usually have red salsa and queso fresco, which means fresh cheese. Tamale verdes. Tamale verdes contains green salsa and pork or chicken. Tamales dulce is a sweet tamale, sometimes pinkish in color. And let me get to hot chocolate. So, end of the year Mexican holidays always feature a hot chocolate as a pre-Hispanic food. There's a long tradition in Mexico. Enjoy this with warm drink, but most Mexicans do not use milk for their hot chocolate. Instead, the most popular way to drink it is known as chocolate de agua. When chocolate ground with sugar, spices, and sometimes almond is melted with hot water and froth. That sounds good. And it's also preferred with milk, but be sure to order chocolate de leche. And let me get to Mixitos de Borrego. This is a Mexican barbacoa. Is comprised with sticky sweet ribs from Missouri, smoky brisket, that is, from Texas, and a whole variety of hot links that emerge as a clever way to recycle meat scraps. Mixitoa is Mexican's version of pit fire barbacoa, and is most popular in the basin of Mexico. Okay, so all right. Pronounce it chic. I believe the pronunciation of that. This dish is also the zeke. This dish is also originated in Yucatan region of Mexico. Contains orange slices, chili, lime juice, just to name a few. And it is incredibly refreshing and a popular side dish to balance out the heavy, rich flavors of the dish listed above. And I'll go into that. And it's the peak it is at peak from November to January in Mexico. So pollo. This ancient Mayan roots is dish in the Yucatan and is essentially a giant tamale. So starting with a thick corn-based salsa, spices, and meats are added. The entire package is wrapped in banana leaves. So unlike traditional tamales, this pollo, mukbil pollo, is slow cooked in an underground pit. So the heat of the stone that is filled with the pit, it works to slowly transfer the heat. And I'm going to end on atole. Atole is a thick grain-based drink made with a flavoring sweetener, and it is usually corn. With an ultimate variation on a theme, atole is often eaten with tamales. Atole blanco is a plain atole, but it can also be made with fruits such as strawberries or with chocolate. That's quite sweet. So it goes on to say, with Dia de los Muertos menu, visit your local Mexican market for ingredients and have fun exploring the new dishes and flavors. And it goes on to say, too, that the food serving during Dia de los Muertos is quite incredible, but there are plenty of other ways to partake in the holiday. So, and it encourages to go on to learn more about the history and the popular festivals of everything, and how-to guide. It gives links about it of building your own ofrendas and things like that about the Day of Dead Flowers. It goes all out, and it says, whether you are preparing for Dia de los Muertos at home or abroad. And it goes on to... Okay, sweetie. It goes on to emphasize the importance of learning new languages. All right, so this reaches the end of the Harboring Light. Tune in, turn up, and absolutely take care out there. Bye-bye now.